The Eleusinian Mysteries served as a vital part of ancient Greek culture for 2 millennia. Uniquely, this ancient ritual had an open-door policy that wasn't even seen in the Greek voting system, allowing slaves and women in as long as they could pay. Plenty of notable figures in Greek culture participated in these mysteries, such as Plato, Aristotle, Herodotus, among others. However, those who underwent this ritual took an oath of secrecy, so even to this day, what exactly went on here is unknown. However, many people believe there was some kind of psychoactive substance being taken here, similar to LSD or other psychedelics producing life-altering experiences. Unfortunately, these mysteries were lost to Greek culture when Christianity took more of a footing. However, their esoteric underpinnings remain as a vital conversation in metaphysical spaces to this day. The story goes that Persephone, Demeter's beautiful daughter, was frolicking in the fields when she was spotted by Hades, god of the underworld, who was conveniently struck by one of Eros' arrows, leading to his shot at Persephone, his exact opposite. He swiftly rose up from below and took Persephone to the underworld. Upon hearing this news, Demeter was distraught. She toured through the world looking for her daughter, and during her 9-day-long journey, she reached the town of Eleusis, where she was treated very generously by a noble family. To thank them for their generosity, she revealed a mysterious right to them, and ordered a temple be built in the town. Later on, she finally learned that Persephone had been taken by Hades to the underworld. Eventually, they all came to a deal that Persephone could float in between the two realms, ultimately leading to the changing seasons and also describing a separation of a woman from her maternal lineage upon marriage in a patriarchal ancient world. This story acted as an underpinning for one of the most notable mystery rites in ancient Greece. I think it's also interesting to mention that this same story is seen in other cultures, specifically the Sumerian story of the two sisters, Inanna and Ereshkigal. Inanna being the goddess of love, and Ereshkigal being the goddess of the underworld. The story goes that Inanna went willingly to the underworld to seek out her sister. Upon seeing each other, Ereshkigal sentenced her to death. However, Inanna had told one of her close associates that if she does not return in due time to seek help. Upon the arrival of her earthly associates, they found her dead body, but she was revived by a substance of life. Here again we see a theme of venturing to the underworld and being transformed by it. There's many forms of media that go into more detail to describe these stories and the context surrounding the mystery rituals created from them. But I want to talk about something more loose in nature. So I pose the question, what role does transformation and embodiment of a greater nature play in our spiritual development? When I asked this question, my mind went to the Christian tradition of being baptized, where a person is submerged in water and comes out reborn and spiritually cleansed in the name of their God. I think of how some individuals on the fringe and some medical practitioners alike preach the benefits of fasting and how it can act like a renewal technology for the cells in the body. I think of countless testaments of people curing themselves with fasting. I even think of my own personal experience with fasting and the lightness that I felt. There's a reason many rituals require the body to be completely fasted and void of any earthly remnants before an individual can take part in the activities. Themes of rebirth and renewal seep into so much, both on the macro and mini scale. Our very moon is hypothesized to come from the collision and destruction of a primordial planet called Theia with our Earth. Ecosystems, like the one seen in the American state of California, depend on fires and destruction to regulate the habitat. How many times have you gone into the fire? I know for me personally, the quote-unquote fire represents my ability to be honest with myself. I have the tendency to lie or hold back from others, let them give themselves away, but I rarely return that unless with a select few. While I also do this because I understand most people just want to be heard, and I don't mind being a compassionate ear. My mind always wanders back to the fundamental belief that I can never be this open with someone. Even now, the only reason I am disclosing this is because this is anonymous. I don't know you, and you don't know me. The thing with this, however, is that this world is a mirror. What you do to others, you are doing to yourself. By me not being willing to be open with other people, perhaps in a way, there is something fundamentally deeper that I am hiding from myself. I give this part of myself away as an offering to you, the viewer, to ask in return, What does the quote-unquote fire represent to you? To hold on to old stories and beliefs can set you back, leaving you stuck in this state of purgatory, repeating the same things over and over again. These beliefs that keep us stuck can be highly individualized or come from our culture. From your own personal vantage point, it may be hard to see your weak spots, but this is where self-reflection comes into play. To put it bluntly, to not know yourself is to be a sleepwalker. In Tibetan culture, it is believed that by intentionally meditating throughout your life, you can cross over into the afterlife consciously, reach enlightenment and being freed from the repetitive cycle of reincarnation. Perhaps this is where the Abrahamic belief of adhering to certain moral principles comes from. Perhaps religion is conveying the spiritual connection between this life and death, that by being a conscious and righteous human, you can use physical death as an alchemization of the soul into higher planes. But what does this have to do with transformation on this plane, this life? Death and rebirth isn't always of the physical body. Death in this plane can represent tossing aside things, people, and habits that no longer serve you. In the most mundane way, it can be quitting that job that makes you miserable, finally keeping promises to yourself, and getting rid of the flighty part of you. Completely and unabashedly, confidently, disowning things that don't serve you. Let the part of yourself that doesn't believe you are an autonomous, sovereign, powerful being die. D-I-E. I urge you, I implore you to seek so deep into the caverns within, and don't even think of coming up until you have conquered the old and built something new, brick by brick. This may sound like I'm exaggerating, but I am being so literal towards you and even myself. Wake up to yourself and let everything else die. The change starts from within, but don't let it be something that only stays in your head. Follow your natural, non-harmful inclinations, even if they are scary. Seeing as fear works as a roadmap to show us what has yet to be explored. Somewhere in a full, luscious garden of all kinds of reds, greens, and yellows lies a rabbit hole. Accidentally or maybe not, you fall into it. It seems like you're falling for an eternity, but you finally reach the surface. You look down and something is very different. The ground is blue. In a state of shock, you jump up, only to bump into a tree, which is also blue, with foliage that twinkles a pale blue. You scan your whole environment, and everything is blue, even you in your full naked glory. Panic really starts to sink in when you realize you are alone. You've never been alone in your entire life. Questions start racing in. How can I get out of here? Can I even leave? Am I dead? Then, with no movement of your own, you are teleported to a long corridor. The ceilings dwarf you in comparison, almost reminiscent of a temple minus all the ornaments. This corridor is blank, lit by a natural skylight. You are paralyzed by fear until an emotion that almost feels like it came from another source calms your entire body down. You're able to take a deep breath. Your body is no longer paralyzed by fear, but you still move slowly, intentionally. Even with your careful analysis, you still come to the conclusion that the corridor is completely void of any material things, almost like it was built up, forgotten about afterwards, but still maintained perfectly. It served a purpose, you could feel it. So with each step, your confidence grows, as you realize there's no boogeyman coming to get you. You were only confronted with yourself in this lone blue world. Then you reach the end of the corridor. This corridor contains a mirror, except you aren't seeing yourself in this state. You're seeing yourself in the world you fell from. You're seeing yourself partake in your daily mundane activities, watching yourself navigate all kinds of relationships, making the same mistakes over and over again. You're watching your greatest moments and your worst. Then it ends and the mirror becomes two-sided again. There you are, blue, naked. Being confronted with visions of yourself left you in a standstill. Seeing yourself in the present has snapped you back, but now you're left to ask, who am I? Are you all those visions you just saw, both bad and good? Are you the naked blue figure standing in front of the mirror? What if you're something else entirely? What if your true being lies behind all of that? What if you came to this blue realm to intimately explore just that? Then a woman's voice says, within this realm lies truths both untold and forgotten. Seek, and you shall find.